everyone, and welcome back to the Colour Cave, where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem, and today I'm feeling like getting into the spooky spirit of things. We are getting ever closer to Halloween, and this image might be familiar to some of you. I did a tutorial for this green witch skin for Colouring Heaven magazine. The tutorial itself is available over on the Colouring Heaven YouTube channel. The link for that will be in the description. And you can buy a copy of this magazine, which is the Colouring Heaven Halloween Special, and that is issue number 96. Today we are going to tackle a spooky sky, and I'm going to do something that I don't normally do. I'm going to switch pencil brands. When I did this green skin tutorial, I used Faber-Castell Polychromos, which most of you who are regular cavers will know are my favourite and my go-to pencil. I'm going to switch to Prismacolors today because of the soft blendability. So anyway, let's get on with some colouring. As always, I will show you the pencils and give you the pencil codes as I go along so that you can find the pencils in your own set, or you can find something similar if you don't own the same brand of pencil. Alright, so for our spooky sky, the main colour that I'm going to be using is this dioxazine purple hue, so it is a very dark purple. And ironically, I'm also going to be using dark purple, which isn't as dark as the dioxazine, so take that how you will. And I'm also, one of the very, very rare times I'm going to be using black as well. Dioxazine purple hue, which is PC132, dark purple, which is PC931, and black, which is PC935. So I feel like a dark sky would be quite atmospheric and quite fitting. At one point there was a huge trend for tutorials on doing galaxy skies. This is kind of similar thing, but it's just meant to look a bit more sinister, a bit less colourful. So I'm going to start with my black pencil, and I'm going to start in next to this moon here. And all I want to do is map out very rough areas of where I want each colour to be, and part of that is to have aesthetically a nice distribution of the colours, and the other half is just because I'm a total planning freak and I can't help myself. So let's have that in there. So I'm using really wiggly lines for this because we want it to be fairly interesting, and I'm just starting in this little section here. I like to work a section at a time. It makes things far more interesting. So we just want a base layer of colour down here. So let's get zoomed in as close as we can, because we want to see how these colours are going to look. And if it's not quite right, then at least we can adjust what we're doing. So just a light layer of pencil, work my way round the moon here. I mention this quite a lot when I'm drawing and colouring as well. I tend to favour starting on the right hand side, and it's just because I'm left-handed. And obviously it's nice for me to be able to see what work I've already done, whereas if I started on the left hand side, my hand would be covering it. It's very similar to left-handed people writing. You can't see what you've just written because we write left to right. So anyway, yes, I'm digressing. So I tend to favour starting in the top right hand corner. If you're right-handed, you might want to start on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to take this dioxazine now in the nooks and crannies of our trees. We will be dealing with the trees in this video as well, just to let you know. But we'll do that in a minute. Let's do the interesting part first. Yeah, so bring that down there. And this is going to be my dark purple that's lighter than my other purple. That's another Prismacolor colour. I think we're going to end up renaming all of the Prismacolors. We do have alternative names for some of the Prismacolor pencils, so I now feel that dark purple should be dark purple that's lighter than the other purples. Yeah, so even if we could bring this all the way down here, so you can see why I'm planning this out. I want to see what it looks like and see how I'm going to make these colours interact with each other. But if I bring this all the way down here to keep things nice and simple, because you know we've got these gaps in the trees here as well, I think I would stop that there, and these two parts here I would probably make darker, maybe make them black. And then here I can have a band of dioxazine in this part. So again, you can see I'm not taking any care in this at all. We are going to spend some time smooshing these colours together, so we will work a little bit harder there. Okay, so again, maybe black in here. And in this little space in here, let's use our not dark purple. Lighter than the rest dark purple. This is starting to look a little bit like a purple camouflage type effort. I'm not mad about that. Let's have that black in there. So I'm just going to work my way over now and just plan out the rest of this sky area. Right, so let's have maybe some more dioxazine in this part. I'm just going to stop. I'm not sure about this bottom part here, but I feel like we need more black. I don't want too much black. Okay, so now the job that we've got on our hands is to blend this all together. So let's make a start. And I'm just going to start in this top right corner. So I'm taking much more care over what I'm doing now. And I want to build up a couple of layers of each colour. So if I zoom right in here, you'll be able to see what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is with this second layer of pencil now, I'm stopping just short of where the black is meeting the next colour. Which in this case, in this top part here, is the dioxazine. So I want to do the same thing with the dioxazine and kind of avoiding the areas where it's going to touch the next colour. So I'm almost leaving like a margin. You can see it there. And then this is where we're going to start to blend these two together. So I'm sort of haphazardly overlapping that dioxazine with the black, and then I'm going to go back to my black pencil and do the same thing in the opposite direction. Now with the black especially, I don't want to go too hard with that because it's a dark colour, it's quite overpowering, but we do want there to be that saturation of pencil in those transition areas. We don't want a quite sort of highlighted area. So if you alternate between your pencils, just go back and forth. You should be able to do that fairly easily, say especially with the Prismacolors, which is why I picked them. And there we go. So we've got some sort of transition there. There's a little bit of purple in the middle, and that's basically how this whole section's going to go. So let's get a wee move on here, because this other black section here, and I can just carry on with this dioxazine now. So medium pressure. We don't want to press too hard, and then we can work our way down here. So doing the same thing here, you can see this, here's where the dark purple is. And again, the same thing, I can work up the way this time, you know, with the transitions. There we go. We'll just join that all. So I'm going to tackle this bit round the right hand side of the branch now, because that's just a really nice place to, you know, sort of put full stops at the end of sentences, like these little bits in here. So I'm not entirely sure how obvious on the microphone my congestion, helps if I can say it, how obvious that is. My airways are actually clear now, and most of you know that I haven't been well for a number of weeks now. I can actually breathe, my nose isn't blocked or anything. See, it's fine, I can smell things. It's as if the congestion's like right in the middle of my skull. You know that way when you're sketching at a human head and you draw the lines in on the sphere so that you get where you can, you know, the eye line and things. If you did that on a sphere, that point right in the middle, but in the middle of my skull, that seems to be where the congestion is, and I can't get rid of it. It's stopping me sleeping. It's giving me a very dry throat at night, and I'm waking up like feeling as if I'm suffocating, and it's just because I've got a really dry throat. So it's not really very good. I'm very, very tired because of it, because I haven't had a full night's sleep in over a fortnight now. So it's not great. But apart from that, I feel okay. I don't actually feel all that unwell, so I feel like a bit of a fraud. It's just this not having much energy because I'm not sleeping. I just hope it doesn't come across too much on the mic, because there's nothing worse than listening to somebody, you know, sort of snuffling away. I say thankfully I don't have a runny nose or anything, so it's not that bad. But I obviously don't sound like my normal self either. So I'm just hoping it's not that obvious, and you know, I can hear it more because I'm hearing my voice from inside my head. I hope that makes sense as well. And I'm hoping that it sounds worse to me than it actually is, but I just wish it would go away. I was talking to a lady in our local shop, and she had a very similar bug to the one that I've had. Now, Mr. Jem hasn't been well either, but he has not had what I had. But the lady in the shop was saying it was a solid 3 weeks before her congestion started to clear. So that's actually made me feel a little bit better, because I was starting to get a bit concerned that something a bit more sinister's going on. But she said no, it was a full 3 weeks, and she's not a sickly type person, you know. She tends to shake things off quite like fairly quickly, and I'm like that as well. So it's actually made me feel a little bit better, believe it or not. But I'm just sorry that you guys have to listen to me in this sort of bunged up state, because I have no idea how long this is going to go on for. But I say it's not like it's stopping me doing anything really apart from sleeping. So we just get on with it. My mum's mum, she used to have a saying, you know, when you had something that wasn't life-threatening, or maybe you'd say like you'd had an injury, like you'd fallen and cut your knee, she used to say to us, well, you'll just have to keep it till it gets better. And that's kind of how I'm feeling about this, whatever it is I've got. I'll just have to keep it until it decides it doesn't want to stay anymore. Thanks, Gran. Oh, there we go. I miss her. Always full of words of wisdom like that. Really getting in here with the dark purple. My only complaint about using these Prismacolor pencils, obviously we're getting beautiful colour payoff here, which is what we like. And we have excellent blendability. The frequency of the sharpening is the only thing that kind of gets to me on that front. Because these are super, super soft pencils, you do tend to have to sharpen them a lot more frequently than some of the other brands, but that is just a payoff that you have to deal with, because a trade-off that you have to deal with in order to get this lovely smushiness. So in other news as well, I have been back and forth with our internet providers. Our internet has been incredibly unstable over the last, I would probably say, month or so, and it has been causing a little bit of a problem. And we've basically just been trying to get to the bottom of it, which has been easier said than done. And it seems to be it's actually a combination of factors. However, we have managed to stabilise it a little bit. So I want to, in the next sort of 2 or 3 days, so by the middle of the week, bearing in mind that you guys are seeing this on Sunday, by the middle of the week, I will have a date to you for our next live stream. I'm having a little bit of live stream withdrawal symptoms, but again, I think I would be better waiting until this, whatever it is I've got, is cleared up, because the more talking I do, the drier my throat gets and the more I start to cough. So I don't obviously want to be coughing in all your ear holes on a live stream as well. Life's just not being kind to me right now. It's just not letting me get on and do what I need to do. But anyway, you can stay tuned for that. So I'm thinking now probably it will be at the end of the month, or possibly into the start of November, until I am fit enough to live stream for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. So you can you're going to have to hold fire a little bit on that, but I'm sure we'll get there. We will get there. Everything will be fine. So one of the things that seems to be affecting our internet is the fact that it's mobile internet that I run off of, because we're in a rural area. We have a sort of satellite dish, but it picks up a commercial mobile signal. One of the things that's happening just now is a lot of the masts in the area are being upgraded for 5G, and they are doing it a section at a time, but it is greatly affecting people's mobile signals. There's a lot of places around about us, even in, you know, like the nearest villages and towns, where the mobile signal would normally be fairly decent, and it's just dropping off, and it's, you know, it's not very good at all. So it's definitely affecting things, and that's definitely part of the problem. But we've had to have our little dish that's bolted to the side of the house. We've had to have it repositioned because that was also part of the problem as well. And I don't know whether it's just been knocked with you know, maybe like in high winds or something, because it's pretty windy here. We are on top of a hill. We're surrounded by other hills, but we're on top of a hill, so that may have affected it as well. So I'm hoping now that it'll stabilise out, and my internet provider people did say to me that they can't guarantee that it will stay stable, just because of all the changes in the work that's being done. But the steps that we've taken should help to stabilise it enough so that it's actually usable for things like live streaming and when I'm uploading videos as well, because that's the other thing. It was the upload speed that was the problem, and some of you may remember this happened with the last live stream as well. We had huge problems with that, and it was the upload speed that was causing the problem. So hopefully now we've got it fixed. I do have to monitor it, so I'm monitoring it, but also my internet provider is monitoring it from their end, just to see if there's going to be any more hiccups. And once we're sure everything's stabilised, then we can get on and can do a bit of live streaming. Much as I'm having a very nice and enjoyable and relaxing time doing this, I'm quite excited about what I'm doing when I have finished this. Mr. Gem is off today, which is almost unheard of round these here parts, but this is our quietest time of year on the farm. The calves have been weaned. We've been deafened for about a fortnight now because we've split them off from their mums. These calves are 10 months old and some of them are nearly as big as their mothers, you know, the older ones. So they're more than ready, but they find it a little bit stressful because they all of a sudden they don't have mummy there and they don't have, you know, the comfort blanket of their milk that they don't need anymore. So it's a little bit stressful for everybody involved, but everybody's happy now. They're settled, quietened down. So that is us now. We have a pretty quiet time. We still have some cows out grazing. It's still fairly mild and the grass is still growing, so as long as that happens we strive to keep the animals out for as long as possible, because obviously that is their natural habitat. Until it gets too wet and they start churning up the fields, then it's time for them to come inside. But by that point it should be getting a bit colder. It's dropping cold at night here just now. We're down into single figure Celsius at night most nights now. But it's not, you know, proper freezing cold yet, so the cows are fine outside. So bar bringing them in, when they come in we have to feed and bed up every day, but that's just the winter routine. And that is it until January, and the calving starts again. New babies. So we tend to try and enjoy this part of the year as much as possible. So when I am finished here today, Mr. Gem and I, we're doing some proper adulting, which just needs to be done because we're quite busy. A lot of, you know, jobs that people would do, especially married couples, would do at the weekend, you know, maybe like a bit of home improvement, that kind of stuff. All of that falls by the wayside with us because we're usually working, we're usually busy. And we don't, Mr. Gem and I don't take days off, like we just don't do it. So we're going to have a little bit of DIYing. We are working away on one of the corridors in our house. The house renovations are always ongoing. The house was in a very poor state of repair when we moved in, and we've just been kind of chipping away. So we're going to do a little bit of work in our corridor, but much more excitingly later on this afternoon, we are going for afternoon tea and we are going out for a meal, just the two of us. We have someone to come and pick us up, so Mr. Gem can have beer if he so desires. I may or may not have beer. I'm not really feeling like drinking right now, just because I'm not feeling well, but I would rather have the option just in case. So we've organised a car to come and pick us up. Anyway, so I am super looking forward to my afternoon. Mr. Gem and I always have fun when we do DIY together because it usually descends into silliness. And there's white paint involved today. So that should be fun. But yeah, I'm looking forward to later on as well. Actually getting like properly dressed and, you know, just getting out for a little while. That should be good. So that's the rest of my day today. I bought myself a new game for my Nintendo Switch, which I'm very excited about, and it is Super Mario 3D All-Stars. So it is all the old Mario games that were in 3D format. So on one cartridge there is Super Mario 64, which I can probably complete it with my eyes shut. I played that game to death as a youngster. It's also got Super Mario Sunshine on it, which was the Mario incarnation on the GameCube, and I have never played that because I never had a GameCube. So I'm quite excited that I've got that to play, and it's something completely new to me. And it's also got Super Mario Galaxy on it, which was the Wii incarnation of Mario, and that is one of my favourite Mario games of all time. So that to me was an absolute bargain, and I'm probably going to start playing a little bit of that later on. I've been playing Kirby and the Forgotten Land on the Switch. Yeah, I need to take a break from it, so I'm going to switch myself over and play a little bit of vintage Mario. So looking forward to that. I've also got a new game on the PC that I haven't started yet, but I think I need some light relief. I've been kind of playing some of season 2 of Fall Guys as well. I've only just kind of got back into that, so yeah, lots of gaming to go on, and I tend to game more at this time of year just because the weather's not so good. Alright, so you get the general idea. If I zoom right out and you see the full picture, you can see where I'm going with this. I'm literally going to continue on this sort of blending and smooshing things together all the way across. So I'm going to go and do that, and I will catch you back up in just a little minute with the power of editing. Alright, so there we go, that is background colour all finished. Like to keep it real in the cave here, so just a full disclosure, that section that I've just done has taken me 40 minutes, so a considerable length of time, and I'm not finished yet because the last thing that I want to do regarding this particular section is I want to take a blending pencil. Now again, this is something that I traditionally don't use. I feel in this instance, and because of the paper I'm using as well, there was a specific reason for me using this paper, and it was to do with this tutorial part, you know, the original reason I was doing the image. So yeah, a little bit out of the ordinary for me, but a good thing for some of maybe our newer colouring cavers to see. So you can see there, just if I zoom in really close up, you can see there is quite a lot of the white of the paper showing through. So with this blending pencil, I'm going to go over this entire area and just smooth out the colour, make it a little bit more uniform, and take away some of these little white grains. So I do have the Prismacolor colourless blender, PC 1077. These are readily available. I do believe you can buy these in packs of two. I want to say two. I might be telling you lies. I will try and find a link for you, and I'll leave it underneath the video so that you can go and check these out. I like these blender pencils, and they behave well with most coloured pencils, not just the Prismacolors. So again, if I just start back up in this top left hand corner, just giving it a wee sharpen. One of the good things to have here is a scrap of paper, and it's just to wipe off excess colour onto so that you're not cross contaminating, because if I've got black on the end of this and I go into this lighter purple colour, it's going to get really murky, which is what we don't want. So just use that to rub the tip of the pencil just to get rid of any excess pigments as I switch about here. So again, I'm just going to start in this top corner. So we want to press hard, and we want to work in a circular motion, be fairly methodical. So you can see the difference there straight away. So yeah, if I just show you the end of this pencil, you can see the black that's on the tip of it. That's what this sheet of paper's for. And again, I can just work my way around, and I'm going to put a sheet of paper under my hand as well because I'm starting to make a bit of a mess here. So I'll do these little sections too. Just make sure they're all nice and smoothed out. Now, some people swear by these blending pencils and use them all the time. I prefer generally just to blend my colour with the actual coloured pencils themselves. But in this instance here, this is working to my advantage. So again, I want to do a bit of a section here just to show you, and so that you can see the difference between the blender, the colourless blender blended section and the not blended section. Wow, that was hard work. Just so that you can see the difference, because it's not essential, you don't have to do it, but I just think for what I'm after here, it's given a much better effect. So a Prismacolor colourless blender is exactly what it says on the tin. It's basically a Prismacolor pencil without any pigment in it. And they're fabulous, they're relatively cheap. They're, you know, if you buy open stock pencils, they're about the same price. Right, so this is me moving into that transition area there. So I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not sticking too hard to one particular part, and I'm smooshing the colour out relatively uniformly as I go round. You can see I'm working my way around the edge of this dioxazine purple part. It's bringing out that purple beautifully though. So this is this is a bit of a labour of love. This will take some time, but it's okay. It's worth it, I promise. The other thing I like to have here as well is just this soft brush. This is a cheap makeup brush, but the bristles are very soft, and it's great for flicking off that little bit of excess, because you will get some sort of residue from this. So I say I'll just finish this little section up to the moon, and then I'll show you it with the other side that's not done. So you can see how much it's bringing out that dioxazine colour. It's lovely. Just making that a little bit brighter. Mix that in with that black section there as well. I've got Jock in the cave with me today, and because I am at the filming desk, he has installed himself under the computer desk, which is like the corner desk. I don't know what it is. I suppose it's a bit like, you know, when you used to steal your parents' chair when they got up to go to the bathroom or something, you know, on a Saturday night. I suppose it's the equivalent of that, because normally where he's lying, that's normally where my feet are. And he's taken this opportunity, even though he's now got 3 beds in the cave, he's taken this opportunity to lie in that spot, and he knows I'm talking about him. He's kind of dozing off, but he keeps looking up at me with these bloodshot eyes as if to say, please stop, I just want to go to sleep. It's funny how he does that though. I've no idea why. It's not very comfortable, as he's on the hard floor, and as a retired sheepdog with arthritis, it's probably not the best choice. But he seems he seems happy enough, so I'm just waiting for the snoring to start though, because it's getting worse. The older he gets, the worse it's getting. Snoring's pretty bad now. It's quite funny sometimes too though. You want to try and keep a nice sharp point as well for more intricate areas like this, you know, where you've got a few sort of ins and outs to get round. Again, and you will encounter the same thing that we did with the coloured pencils. You will find you have to do a fair bit of sharpening, because obviously this is the same binder as the coloured pencils from Prismacolor, so it's soft. And this is why they make such good blenders, because they're soft. Okay, if I take that away now and you see that next to the section that hasn't been blended, you can see that there's a huge difference. We can't see any of the white of the paper here, but over here it's very, very obvious. So that's taken about 10 minutes to do that little section. So, you know, it's fairly labour intensive, but the result it's going to give you is very satisfying indeed. So again, just as before, I am going to carry on and get the rest of this section done, and then we will move on to the next part and make this look even spookier. Alright, so we've got that part finished. The next thing that I want to do, I'm going to take a black pen. Now I have decided to use a brush liner, and it's more for the pigment saturation than anything else, particularly with this paper. You can use a black marker of your choosing, that is not a problem. And I am basically going to fill in this entire area of the trees. You can see the quality of the ink even against the dark or black parts of the sky. These branches are actually still standing out because we've used a different medium. And this is a Pigma Micron brush marker. It is a very true black ink, so it's absolutely perfect for this. And with having a brush tip on it, I've got excellent control, because there's quite a few little protrusions from these branches. But also having the brush gives us the advantage that we can cover larger areas fairly quickly, considering, you know, if you were to compare that to like a fine liner. That's standing out fairly nicely there. Mr. Jem's just arrived back. He was picking up plumbing pieces for our washing machine. We're actually plumbing in a second washing machine in our utility room. One of my life goals as an adult was to have a separate washing machine to put doggy blankets in, but also outside workwear, so basically clothes that get covered in cow poo. I don't really want them in the same washing machine as my good clothes. It's obviously you're not going to wash them in the same load, but over time it does, you know, it's not good for your washing machine. So today is the day. We do have a second washing machine, and Mr. Jem went to get bits to plumb it in. And the nearest town is it's about a half-hour drive away, and he's been and got all the bits and come back and realised he's bought the wrong pieces, the wrong plumbing pieces. So he said some choice words there that would probably have to be beeped out if I said them here on the cave, and he's going to have to go back to said town and get the right pieces, so I don't think he's best pleased. He's not a happy camper, but what can you do? He's doing a better job than me because I'm not that great at plumbing. Don't really understand. Well, I do understand how it works, but I couldn't tell you the sizes and, you know, the correctness of things. Okay, so you can see where I'm going again with the trees. The other reason that I wanted to use black is because it's going to allow the rest of our witch to stand out, because obviously these trees come all the way down to the bottom here. So we're going to lose these foliage marks, but we're actually going to put them back in. That's going to be part of the next step. So again, just as before, I'm just going to carry on. I'm actually going to start at the bottom here, and I'm just going to fill in all the areas that need filled in. Maybe I'll get through this fairly quickly, so just having this brush pen to work with. The other pen that I was thinking of using, the other option was going to be the Caran Brush Marker Pro in black. I felt it's a wee bit expensive to be wasting. I say wasting, that sounds terrible. Just because this is a colouring page, it's not like it's an artwork that's going to be displayed or even gifted to anybody. This is purely just for funsies for Halloween. And the Caran Brush Marker Pros are fairly expensive, so I feel a little bit loathed to use them, whereas these Pigma Micron fine liners are fairly cheap. The only issue I have with the Pigma Microns is they're not refillable, they're disposable. So they're a bit of a waste of resources there, and obviously we are all becoming a lot more conscious of our environment and how we use things. And I would like to think that most of us now, I'm sure I'm speaking for a lot of you guys as well, a lot of you cavers, that's actually something you take into consideration when you buy new supplies now. Is how, you know, what's the carbon footprint like? Is it eco-friendly? Can you refill it? Can it be recycled? And I feel that Pigma Microns are kind of behind the curve now. You know, they're quite old-fashioned in that sense, because a lot of the newer brands, you can in fact refill them. Replace the nibs as well is another one. Quite a lot of pens now you can buy the replacement nibs and they just pull out and push in. But I love the ink in the Pigma Microns, and I love that they do teeny weeny fine liner sizes as well, which you can't get in some of the other pens. So I think this is obviously not hair in here. So I need to do this first so that my eyeballs and my brain connect up and understand that that isn't a solid section of hair. Like, that's quite important to me right now. And again, because we've got this lovely brush, you can get right into that crease there. That was a tiny little gap in there. It's coming along quite nicely now, and you can see what I mean about the witch really standing out because we've given her this black background. Obviously there's a lot of contrast just now because it's white and black, which are obviously polar opposites, but this is just really helpful when we're working with her coloured pencil as well, just to give us a bit of impact. And there we go, that is the ink all done now, and we are ready to move on. Coming together nicely now. Alright, Gem from after the end of the video here, so like future Gem. We were in editing just there and the entire end of the video is missing for some reason. Thankfully, I actually have a duplicate of the image that we were working on. So here is actually the finished background, the spooky sky. So the steps that we're missing, I'm just going to talk you through with this this practice sheet here, behind the scenes here. This was the original, when I was deciding what to do with the tutorial, this was the original draft one that I was using. Yeah, so you can see here in the finished image, the next step that I took after the bit that we've just left off from was colouring in the moon. So again, I'm just going to show you the pencils that I used for that, and I'll show you the method that I've used on this one here. This is copy paper, but thankfully we're not doing anything too complicated, so we don't have to worry too much. I'm just really glad I caught this in a timely fashion and I hadn't thrown this out because it would have been a bit awkward. Right, the two pencils that I'm using here, I'm still using the Prismacolors, and that would be the cream, which is PC 914, and eggshell, which is PC 140. I'll just put those pencils there for you just now. And then yeah, let's come back to what we're actually supposed to be doing. So for the moon, bearing in mind that this would all be nice and dark by now, you can just take your cream pencil and hold it on. It's like at a 45-degree angle. I'm not actually colouring this in, I'm just taking away the white of the paper, so I'm not being careful about covering the entire area with this pencil. I just want to take away some of the white. And what I am going to do is I'm going to pick a side and I'm going to go a lot heavier with that pencil in a C shape. So I'm going to pick the bottom left. Again, if you're right-handed, you might favour this side. But one of the bottom sides, one of the bottom quarters would do. And I'm just going to heavy up on that a little bit in this C shape. Okay, as if, I mean, you'll probably all have seen the shading exercises you do with the sphere, kind of like that. So you want something to be a bit bottom heavy there and that cream pencil really to stand out. So yeah, don't worry too much about it being absolutely filled in because we're helping to give the moon dimension here. And then I'm going to take the eggshell, and this is what I'm going to use to create some texture. So just sort of random movements with a sharp pencil. I like to use sort of spasmodic movements, you know, make them really sort of erratic. Just a little, you know, a couple of like craters and pock marks there. So you can play about with that until your heart's content. But that's just giving you a bit more of a moody looking moon. Now the final step here, if I go back to the original image that we were colouring, you can see I've added a bit of white to it. So I'll zoom in just a little bit more there. Now you can do this with several different things. You can use a white gel pen or a Posca pen. I feel it's a bit too stark and a bit too crisp for what I'm looking for. So I chose to use a soft pastel, and this is just a white pastel. And what I've done there is, if I just turn this to the side, you can see here, you can actually just put on some of the pastel over the top of what you've been doing. Now I just use sort of back and forth motions, and you can blend some of it out a little bit with your finger if you feel it's too harsh. You know, if you don't want those back and forth lines, that's fine. So we're trying to get this sort of spooky sky in here. You can even use a slightly different colour of pastel pencil if that's what you want to do, or stick pastel. So that's just basically what I was doing there. And I put a few highlights here on the trees just to show where the moon is hitting off the trees. You know, really give it that sort of nighttime atmosphere. And it's not going to draw the eye away from the main part of the picture too much. Now I am now gonna have to go back. I did use a workable fixative to seal this off, and that's actually worked in my favour because obviously I've now had to go back over it to show you what I was doing with the moody clouds. So yes, in order to keep your pastel pencil or pastel in place, if that's what you've used, you will need to use a fixative. This is the one that I use, and it's the Winsor & Newton Yellow Label Fixative. The reason I use this particular one is because number one, it is accessible in the UK. I can pick this up in most places. And the second reason is this is a workable fixative, so you can use it to seal off your artwork like we're going to do just now. But if you are working in layers, you can spray this and then work on top of your previous layer without disturbing it. So this is really handy to have, especially if you like working in mixed media, but it's just something that's really handy to have, and a can will last you forever. This is only my third can since I started arting, and it's about that full. So although it seems quite a pricey outlay, it will last a long time. It's also really good if you use Prismacolor pencils in your colouring books on a regular basis. You will be aware that you'll get transfer between the pages. Spray your page with this and that minimises that. It's really good for that. If you are in the US, Canada, or Australia, maybe New Zealand as well, not sure, you can let me know in the comments. It's not as easy to get Winsor & Newton, but the Krylon brand is really popular, and I think it's readily available as well, and they do a workable variety as well, so you can get your hands on that. Anyway, I seem to be like advocating for lots of different brands and companies today, don't I? Anyway, back to here. So that is the finished image, and the lovely thing about this is this isn't restricted to a Halloween picture. You can use this background anytime, anywhere, for a lot of pictures, just to give them atmosphere. So I hope that it's been of use to you and maybe inspired you for your Halloween spookiness as we draw ever closer. I would quite like to finish this image in the next week, obviously in time for Halloween. If that's something that you'd like to see me do on the channel, please let me know down in the comments, because I'd be happy to continue on and get our witch all coloured in to match her background as well. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Apologies for my my technical hiccup at the end, but we got there, it's fine. Please ensure that you stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll see you back in the cave on Thursday for another video. Have a great day, everyone. Bye bye for now.